speaker today will be Dr. Lewis, Assistant Professor in Animal and Food Science from UW River Falls.
Super. All right, so I have 6 minutes and about 9 slides, so buckle up. It's time to go. Timer's right there. Super. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Grace Lewis. I'm assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin, River Falls. And today I'm going to be talking to you about dairy components in pharmaceutical applications. Okay, so first, some individuals who can't digest nutrients normally through the gastrointestinal tract have to have an intravenous source of these nutrients. One of these nutrients are fats, are lipids. In order to be suitable for intravenous application, these lipids have to be in really, really small emulsions, really, really small droplet sizes, about less than 300 nanometers on average. So really, really, really small droplets. About 350,000 patients per year within the United States require these sources of nutrients. So the issue with the current formulations for this lipid source of nutrients through the intravenous system is that they're primarily soybean oil based. So you can see a table there showing the different sources of some of the most common intravenous lipids. And the issue is that soybean oil based lipids have been shown to cause a lot of negative side effects when they're used for quite a while. So on the bottom here, you have a table showing 107 patients in the neonatal intensive care unit being administered 2 different lipid sources here. And you can see the incidence of intestinal failure associated liver disease is really, really, really high, okay? So there are a lot of issues associated with the current formulations for these intravenous lipids. So our idea, in collaboration with UW-Madison, was to say, okay, so soybean oil-based, there are a lot of issues associated there. Fish oil-based, they're really, really expensive, and there's still issues associated there. So now we're seeing, can we use milk fat-based lipids? So the idea is that milk fat has this really broad, what we call a fatty acid profile. So lipids are primarily composed of triglycerides, and these triglycerides have 3 attached fatty acids. In milk fat, those fatty acids range in length, they range in double bonds, they range in all sorts of stuff. So they're a very broad range of these fatty acids. In soybean oil, they're quite limited. So this figure here is showing you milk in blue versus soy in red, and just looking at the different triglyceride species there, and you can see how much broader the triglycerides are in milk. So the idea is that with this broad range, with this broad profile, they're going to be more easily metabolized. So think about infants, right? Infants can use milk. They're given milk at a young age. They can use these milk quite well. So the idea is, okay, if we use this as an intravenous source, hopefully it can be metabolized just as well, better than soybean oil-based lipids. So to do this in my lab, I have a high pressure homogenizer. So a high pressure homogenizer, the sample goes in up there. We have milk, fat, an emulsifier, and water. It's processed through this really, really small nozzle that forces the sample, forces these droplets into even smaller droplets. And then it's cooled. There's some back pressure applied to reduce cavitation. And this system operates at up to 300 megapascals, up to 3 times the deepest part of the ocean. Really, really, really high pressures. And with this, we're hoping to be able to achieve droplets that are small enough to be suitable for intravenous application. So some of the results. First, with particle size, in normal milk, the fat globule size is about 0.2 to 2 microns, so too big for intravenous application. And again, for intravenous application, it has to be less than 500 nanometers, primarily around that 300 nanometer mark. With our system at 300 megapascals through that high pressure homogenizer, we achieve a particle size under this 300 nanometer mark, so suitable for intravenous application, as well as it maintains stability for over 3 months, and we're still testing this now. So they're very, very stable. We actually have tested these in mice, again, in collaboration with UW-Madison. And this figure here is showing through time the respiratory exchange ratio. So basically, how well are these mice able to utilize these lipids? How efficient is the process? For mice given milk-based emulsions versus soy-based emulsions. And it's kind of hard to see there, but in red, you have the milk-based emulsions, and the mice are more easily able to utilize these lipids. So the respiratory exchange ratio is lower on average for these lipids. And then the body weight's the same in the end. So together, this information tells us that these mice are more able to utilize this milk-based lipid than the soy-based lipid. We also looked at the pancreatic cells, and we noticed, and the sample size here is a little bit smaller, we're gonna try to increase the sample size, that on average, the soy lipid caused the pancreatic cells to be more inflamed than the milk-based lipid. So we're seeing some pretty awesome results here. So in conclusion, the current intravenous fat emulsion formulations cause numerous complications. Milk fat has shown promise to be a suitable lipid source. We're able to achieve this adequate particle size and stability, as well as a very diverse fatty acid profile, which again, we expect to be more easily metabolized. And we're seeing some indications that yes, it is. The respiratory exchange ratio is lower and apparent reduced pancreatic cell inflammation. So these are really awesome results. And again, over 350,000 patients per year, so that we can help a lot of people with this if they show less complications in the end. So I'd like to thank some of my collaborators here. So Dr. Joe Pierre at UW-Madison, we work together. I make the milk fat emulsions. He tests them in mice. I'm much better working with a high pressure homogenizer than mice. So collaboration is so important here. His postdoc, Dr. Nate Willis, he's been awesome as well. Some of my wonderful undergraduate students who helped to prepare these emulsions, and of course, funding from the Dairy Innovation Hub and WiSys. So with that, thank you. I have time for any questions. No question. It's all right. That's super clear. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something we have to evaluate the economics of it. But it's going to be comparable, and that's one thing I like working with pharmaceuticals is that the cost when you're looking at adding a processing tech step to, in this case, high pressure homogenization, you're looking at a slight increase in cost. But I think in the end, it will be comparable because what we have here is just pure milk fat. It's anhydrous milk fat, for those of you who are familiar. It's not just butter. It's a little bit more concentrated than that, but still it's readily available, especially in the state of Wisconsin. So I don't expect there to be too much of a cost increase here. And the emulsifier we're using is also a fairly common emulsifier. So yeah. Cool. Oh, no.
One more quick one. The milk fat, does it get used exclusively for this end goal, or are there like byproducts that you use elsewhere?
Sure. So basically, the process to make the anhydrous milk fat here is take butter and you centrifuge it and you put it under vacuum to concentrate it even further because we don't want to inject mice with milk proteins or anything like that. We want a really concentrated source of this milk fat. So it's like 99.9% milk fat, and we send it through with the emulsifier and water through that high pressure homogenizer. So there really aren't any side products being or byproducts being made here. But was that your question? Does that answer?
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of
potentially, but we produce a lot more milk. There's a lot of drying and exporting, so we have some very efficient cows. So I think it's not really dipping into that market. I think it's another application with a lot of value added, which of course love helping the dairy industry in any way. So, all
right, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So our next speaker is Dr. Akhtar, Assistant Professor of Computer Science from UW Green Bay, going to talk about enhancing classroom accessibility.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Sayeda Farzana Akhtar. I'm an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science in UW Green Bay. So today I would like to talk about my research in enhancing classroom accessibility, a comprehensive approach to overcoming challenges for students with disabilities. So why I come with this research. Last year when I started in UW Green Bay, two of my students who have some disabilities, they dropped their class after just 1 week. So I want to dig down why my student with disabilities, they drop the classes. And it happens again in the next semester, spring 2024. And then when I talk with the student with disability center and with my students who drop the classes, I found that they face some difficulties to enroll in class, like face-to-face class. So they just want to stay home, and they like the online classes because the classroom is not properly give them support for disabilities, because one of my students has hearing impairment. And what happened in our classroom, we don't have the support for that student, and also the low vision, we don't have any support. So I want to solve this problem. That's why I come to for this research. And this is a statistical data that also encouraged me for this research, where I found that more than 43%, this is the statistical data from 2022, that around 43% student in US, we can't accommodate for the student with disabilities for the proper accommodation. And what I did to solve this problem, so first, I want to search all the universities, their website, and what types of facilities they are giving for the students with disabilities. Then I find that from the literature review and from my statistical data, that for lack of data regarding extent of classroom accessibility is one of the major problems. Because normally the universities, they just follow their rules and the general rules, like what's the measurement for the doors and what should be the decks, their heights. But we are not actually measuring that. Is my classroom is accessible enough for a student who has the low vision or hearing impairment? So that's why what my research objective is, when a student with disabilities, whatever disabilities he have, except cognitive disabilities, because cognitive disabilities is a little bit more complicated that we can't support nowadays from my research. But whatever disabilities a student have, when he wants to enroll for his, I focus on the undergrad students. So he don't have to worry about is my classroom is accessible or not. He can get data from the evaluation. So what I did here, I developed a mobile application. So I have already this application. So if you want to have a look on this, I can talk to you one-to-one. And from this application, the students we have lots of questions. So a student can fill up that evaluation. And from there, the university can tell them that this classroom is accessible for you or not. And when his students enroll for a class, he can check from there, and he don't have to be disappointed when he enroll for that class. And what I did in my research, we have the mobile application, and for mobile application, here is most important things. When we design the questionnaires, so that questionnaires is come from the occupational therapist and the accessibility expert. For this one, I work with University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. They have Research, Rehabilitation and Disability Center, R2D2, and their advisor, Dr. Roger Smith, helps me to do that. And we design a recommendation system. So after we get the result from the student, we give a recommendation system, which is for the universities and the student disability centers. And this is the screenshot from the questionnaires. Here is the important thing you see. When the student gives the answer, it gives the score. How accessible a classroom is from objective purpose, like is the door is enough good for a student who wants to have a lower limb impairment, or a low vision student has the enough facility in the classroom, and also usability, like how usable a classroom is the faculty is interacting with the students in properly is the slide he's providing is enough accessible. So my research goal is when a student enroll for a class, if he has even a disability, I want to make sure equitability. My students, he'll not upset after my class. And this research, when I have the feasibility analysis and the social benefit, we want to make sure all of my students, like as an instructor, I want to make sure all of my students, I provide enough facility so he can enroll in my class. And I'd like to thank UW Milwaukee for supporting my research. Also, I am deeply grateful to WiSys, their 2023 grant. So I have my research assistant, Indira, who is helping me for this research. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
So we do have time for a couple questions if someone has a question.
Oh, thank you. At our university, classrooms are chosen prior to registration. Would you argue then that students should register for classrooms first and then student roles should be analyzed and then classrooms assigned?
No, the questionnaire is here is first of all, they have the usability questionnaires. I have the set of questionnaires, the usability. The usability depends on what student preference is, what types of, we collect the data from what types of disability a student has and what he needs. And the universities, we have the Student Accessibility Center. So Accessibility Center, and from the data collector, we have the accessibility part, that is objective side. So from that one, we have, for every classroom, we have the accessibility scoring. And when the student gives usability scoring, we make a match. Like this is our student needs and this is our objective support. And then we want to make sure when a students enroll for a class, we provide them from that classroom. So we want to make even in UW Green Bay at least 3 to 5 classroom that is accessible for all. So whatever disability is a student, we can give the support from that classroom. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So our next speaker is Dr. Mitra, Associate Professor of Food Process Engineering at UW Stout, talking about the conversion of food industry byproduct waste into value-added products.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my presentation today. My presentation is about the conversion of food industry biowaste for value-added extruded product. So the question is why this research is important. About 850 million people in the worldwide, they're facing protein malnutrition. Among them, 815 million are from developing countries. But how about American? Are they in short of protein? No. But recent studies showed that more than half of Americans want more protein above RDA level by cutting carbohydrate because of health consciousness. So replacement of the carbohydrate or partial replacement of carbohydrate with the protein is very important. But if you walk through any superstore, you can see the aisles of aisles are full of carbohydrate-based your cereals and snacks. So another thing is that food processing industries, they're producing huge amount of bio-waste or byproduct. But many of the byproducts are valuable and we can convert the food. For one of the example is that brewing industries, brewers spent grain, and it contains about 24% protein and 28% fiber. And then we can easily convert this waste into food using like technology, extrusion technology. What is the extrusion technology? This is that thermomechanical process. In this bioreactor is very versatile. You can do all the unit operations like drying, sterilization, cooking, puffing, all you can do by one reactor. This is very versatile equipment and good technology for producing snacks and cereals. But thing is that all the unit operation are influenced by that extrusion conditions. For example, extrusion temperature, screw speed, formulations, feed moisture. And they are also affecting your product quality. Here is the product quality, so the expansion issue, listed property. What is the property? It's a physical-chemical properties that when you eat food, then you can see that, oh, I like this food or I don't like this food. Basically, what you are doing, unconsciously, you are finding the determination of the properties which are comfortable to you. So then when you develop the product, we need to find the correlation between that processing conditions and that bad quality of that or product. So optimization is obvious to do that. So objective of this study, one objective is that optimization of that processing conditions for developing cereals and snacks. And this research is done by Rajesh Dengal. He was the master's student. Now he's doing PhD in South Dakota State University. Another objective is the product development. So this how to improve the nutritional qualities and sensorial properties. So this is done by another master student, Sadhana Takachu. She is now working in the food processing industry. So in this process, so we need to optimize. So we need to use some design. So we use CCRD, Central Commodity Rotatable Design, 2 factors, cool speed and temperature. And we use 5 levels. And based on that CCRD design, we got 13 different experimental points. And then we determine our product qualities based on that conditions. And results. So first objective result is that optimization. So in this process, we did response surface modeling. Basically, we changed it to your parameters, and then we see that how our response, that means our product quality changes. And then we did it for each properties, and we superimpose one after another and find out that more satisfied area. That is our graphical optimization. So based on that graphical optimization shows that 135 to 140 degrees centigrade temperature and 290 to 300 RPM is good for making the better quality of the extrude. And second objective is that product development. So Sadhana, she use different formulations and use quinoa, rice flour, and soy protein, and then also varied that brioche span grain. So we did sensory analysis, around 100 participants attended, and based on their response, we see that 20 to 25% brioche span grain we can use, and which will be very nutritional valuable, higher protein and fiber content. So conclusion is that optimization conditions, we 135 to 140 degree centigrade and 290 to 300 RPM we can use for extruder, which can give you the better quality product. And also brioche span rate we can add up to 25%. So my other research is that one is the biodegradable packaging. Last year, Arabia was the Whitfish winner. And another this year, Raj, Priyanka and Viras, they presented poster in IFT about vegan yogurt. My other another research is going on how we can develop the meat analog, plant-based meat analog using 3D printing. So, so I'm open about my collaboration. So if anybody is interested about my research, please contact me. And I'm grateful for the funding. Without funding, I cannot do anything. So Steinberg Research Grant, FRI grant, and also industry, they love to give me all that facilities because they want to use their waste. Any question? Thank you.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Good talk. I had a question, maybe a technical question, but for your optimization for the extrusion, is that your optimization process? Do you go through just like a one factor at a time, like you just change one thing, or do you have some kind of like design of experiment, like optimization?
Design. So you use a central computer rotatable design. Yeah. So you use a central computer rotatable design. In this process, depending on your factors, we use two factors. So temperature and screw speed, and we change the level. So level is starting from your 1.42 to coded value, 1.4 to your minus 1.4 to plus 1.42. And then we varied. You can see that how we calculate. We also give the calculation. So we varied this one in 5 levels, and then we determine that your 13. Actually, it's a 9 points, and then 5 times you need to repeat it in 0 points. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Dr. Kill, from Associate Professor of Recreation Management and Recreational Therapy from UW-La Crosse.
Hi everyone. My research. How many of you heard about the forest therapy? How many of you heard about the forest therapy or forest bathing? A few. Yeah, that sounds good. So, okay. So basically, most of you are not familiar with the forest therapy and on forest bathing. So that's good. So I will talk more about in details of what is forest bathing is about. Forest bathing is different from the hiking. So I will talk more about more details about the forest therapy. Okay. Sorry. Okay. There's a lot of the forest therapy is forest bathing is originated in Japan back in 1980s, and the Korean governments also adopted the forest therapy back in early 2000, and also the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guide in the U.S. Adopted forest therapy from Japan and South Korea, and they provide nature and forest therapy programs internationally. Internationally. And I went through the certifications of nature and forest therapy programs back in 2018. And I developed the nature and forest therapy programs, and I offered those programs to the students and also individuals with the veterans with the PTSD and autism and so forth. So this is, yeah. So there's some empirical research associated with, for example, hiking and the forest therapy for diverse groups of the individuals. But particularly there's a lack of research on the empirical research findings about the forest therapy for veterans, particularly with the PTSD. So my research is about exploring the psychological benefit of the nature and forest therapy programs for the veterans, particularly the PTSD. So, okay. So forest therapy program that I implemented is a standard sequence called the standard sequence of nature for forest therapy. So there are certain steps that we need to follow, and the first step is about introducing what is the nature and forest therapy program, orienting the participants to the environment and so forth, and talks about the historical aspect of the science-based benefit of nature and forest therapy programs, and also talks about the environment, historical aspect of the natural environments where the forest therapy program occurs. And also talks about to make sure that the clients are safe, feel safe, and whether they bring any the medication and so forth, and we talk about those. And then the next one is having them to use the different senses, one senses at a time. It's kind of warming up exercises using different senses, one sense at a time. This is a key aspect of having the clients to slowing down in natural environments. And after that, having them to more engage in depth nature connection activities, having them to notice what's in around the environments on the trail, for example. After that, having them to building more relationship with the nature, and we provide many different nature connection activities. For example, the nature drawings, or having them to find the comfortable places, the quiet places for them to seek the solitude. And then when we do that, and we provide some scroll invitation. We provided some score invitation to the clients. So at the end of their this quiet time, that they can open up their scrolls, and there's a message for them by the guide. Yeah, and then the last invitation of the forest therapy is ending with the tea ceremony. We provide the tea from, for example, the white pine needles, the 5 needles in cluster, then we use that. And there's a lot of the benefit in there. Yeah, so and we use that, and we share the tea with the clients, and some snacks as well. That's the ending. Yeah. So I implemented these structured nature forest therapy programs for the veterans with the PTSD at Easter Seals, Wisconsin camp. And in nature trails for about 1 hour or so. In April and September, they do have the family camp program for veterans. So these are some examples of nature forest therapy work that I work with the veterans and their family members. Yeah. So the result is that I was looking at to see if there's any differences in the levels of the connection with the nature. So I measured that before and after forest therapy work, and I found a significantly improved the connection with nature. And also I found, I measured the mood state. Mood state consists of 6 different the state. For example, the anxiety level, tension level decreased after the intervention, and also depression also decreased, and anger level also decreased, and energy level went up, and the stress level decreased, and the concentration level has increased. And also satisfaction with life also has increased after the intervention. So, so this intervention has, has an impact on their emotional health. And we need to utilize more randomized control trial design. And I do have some data. Yeah. And these are some team members. Thank you.
Looks like we have a question over here.
Thank you for nice presentation. I'm Mohammed Rabbani from EW Platteville. during winter, you cannot go, to work in forest. So do you have any alternate plan for winter? Or if it is not done in winter, how does that affect, the overall efficiency? Thank you.
One of my students, former students, do some literature review on when the forest therapy occurred throughout the year. And the most forest therapy occurred in the summertime and early fall. And some forest therapy occurs in the winter and also springtime. But there's different approaches to utilize the forest therapy program throughout the seasons. For example, the winter, for example, we can see the snow, when the snow falls, we can see the animal tracks as well, for example. That's something that we can find something unique. Yeah. And then every time we visit the snowfall, the snow area, we may find something new that we never discovered before. So we can spend a little more time on the animal track to see, thinking about have some deep, kind of casual and the more in-depth connections with the footprint, for example. And and then some winters, some trees tend to still have the dry leaves. Some trees do not have. And the people notice those kind of things and start wondering why that happens. Why do some trees have more dry leaves during the winter and the other trees do not have even the same type of tree? And people are starting to wonder about that. And I did some research about why is in that. So I can talk about more kind of biological aspect, but the funny thing that I found was that if the tree has more dry leaves, even during the winter, they can observe the moisture as well. And the another thing is that they can attract more visitors and then so forth. Yeah. Yep. And then yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And our last speaker for the session is Dr. Mahmoud, Professor of Sustainable Management from UW-Superior, and he's going to talk about renewable energy prospects.
Good. Thank you, everybody, for listening to my talk. I will talk about the renewable energy prospects through the lens of twin ports. It's actually the research question that arose for me, and I'm actually focusing mainly on climate change adaptation, applied economics with small business economics research, but I also got hooked up with this renewable energy situation. And if you look at the recent data, it says that by year 2050, solar will be around 51%, electricity generation for US. So this is based on US Energy Information Administration statistics, and you can find the report in Annual Energy Outlook 2022. But they also have an updated features which says that considerable progress is made in solar, wind, energy, especially for US. And this is taken from, this is a nice map showing the renewable energy potentials based on NREL. This is a laboratory located focusing on mainly renewable energy in Colorado, Jefferson County, Colorado, if I can recall. And if you look at the upper Midwest of this area, especially Wisconsin and Minnesota, it is showing lots of wind potential. But what we see, for this area, there's many things happening, especially in terms of the solar. And if you look at even the recent magazine of Positively Superior, June, July 2024, it says solar is superior source of energy. Now the question is, it doesn't match with what in our EL are showing, wind potential and all, but why solar? So there was an interest from my end. And then there's a research questions, if you see. So we got interested, like what is the current renewable energy investment status of the twin ports? When I say twin ports, we are talking about Duluth Superior, since we are at the top and the northwest Wisconsin, with the anchor of the north, as our chancellor mentioned today. And we are at the tip. And Duluth is actually 15 minutes. If we cross the bridge, you're in Duluth, Minnesota. And it takes 5.5 hours to go to Milwaukee and 5 hours to Madison. So you can see that we are more closer to these Duluth sites. That's why it makes sense why these twin ports, like the twin cities. So anyway, I got interested, like, okay, what is the current renewable energy status in this area, especially this twin ports area, considering the Lake Superior and St. Louis River estuary? And what are the potential barriers to renewable energy investments in the twin ports area? And the methodology, basically literature review, expert interviews, quantitative and qualitative assessment were applied, mixed methods approach, and a comparative analysis of Duluth and Superior. For the last one, lucky for me, there was a student who got interested in this kind of research, renewable energy prospects in twin ports, and the student got SURF Award, Summer and Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And the student decided to, okay, work on one of those that comparative analysis. I will just highlight that one rather than going through the mixed method results. And this is actually, I want to highlight here, especially for even for 6 minutes presentation, that how undergraduate research, graduate student research can also help our area, the Wisconsin state overall. So if you look at this issue, the renewable energy, as I mentioned, solar is more prominent. The now question is why? The result shows that wind energy could not be utilized due to variations in the wind around twin ports. So we are talking about innovations, right? So here, I'm a social scientist, but hopefully the engineers, innovators, they can come up with something so that we can use that potential that NREL are showing in their map. Okay, so what kind of wind, energy harnessing technology we can produce so that we can take advantage of this geographical situation. Hydropower plants, not currently suitable as well. So again, there's an innovation prospect. Slow policy change initiatives, and I will talk about that. The economic incentives, interestingly, even though this is 15 minutes, remember Superior falls under Wisconsin policies and jurisdiction taxes. Duluth falls under Minnesota and they have their own tax policies and all. So there's a subtle difference. I would say not subtle, actually, sometimes significant differences depending on which industry you're representing or which type of entrepreneur you are. So anyway, in Superior, there's more like incentive-based focus. And in the Duluth, it's a combination of incentive and regulations, but sometimes it get into loggerheads, like which one to go for. Again, that sometimes the politics, those things comes into play. There's no comprehensive plan, like coordinated efforts, how to harness this renewable energy between these two cities. We call ourselves twin ports, but there's no comprehensive plan yet how to work together, despite the differences in the tax and other stuff, state level policies. Potential barriers, there's a monopoly, lack of suitable land to implement solar panels and turbines, and access to capital funding. Now, talking about some of the issues, you can see these are the news clip I highlighted over here, that Superior's utility proposed rate hike that prompts to cut cost. Like they want to replace the old infrastructure and all. And that's why the Superior tried to increase natural gas rate by 17%. If I can recall exactly, for water, it is 18%. as well. And for the electric rates, it will be 2.2%. At the same time, when these things happening, Superior City Council denied local approvals for a $1 billion natural gas plant. And also the Duluth sites, some of the two things highlighted were not many affordable housing. Housing is a big problem here. It's exactly just like Wisconsin, it's also a problem in Duluth. And another thing I also agree, childcare, lack of affordable childcare. And these are all linked, by the way. Renewable energy prospect, whether consumers are interested or not, whether they want to make the next leap. So I'll just quickly, I ran out of time, so I'll just quickly go through. These are some of the things, innovations I'm thinking, besides the innovations, how social scientists like us can work with multidisciplinary folks in this room. And I'm also, just like the previous presenter, looking for possible grant opportunities. It can go all the way to NSF, National Science Foundation grant, but it will be good to have team players, and also how to utilize undergraduate researchers and also graduate researchers. And yeah, let's move from there. Thank you.
Other questions? So in your opinion, what's the next step? What's the next?
So next step, now I can utilize that extra time, right? Okay, so this was my last slide. You can see there is a lack of repository of resources on the status of renewable energy developments in twin ports. There's nothing like a repository, where you can go to a library and can get all the latest information in one place. It's all over the place, okay? So the question is, this is probably an undergraduate research, summer undergraduate research project coming up, probably, hopefully one of our students will pick up. The plan is to work with City of Duluth, City of Superior, and all the key stakeholders for that first one. Innovations, I already mentioned. Externalities, you can see what I'm talking about. The economic objectives and sustainability objectives, these are the key. Personally, I now believe in innovations under 4 Ps. I'm not using the word profit there. I'm using the word prosperity, people, planet, and policy. Usually sustainability has 3 Ps, profit, people, and planet. I'm not using the word profit, because whenever you use the word profit, people will question you. What is in it for you? What is in it for me? But when you use the word prosperity, it's different. Then you have stakeholders who are willing to talk with you. I think we should start from there, and maybe this could be another strand of research moving forward. How to communicate all these scientific facts to people so the people are willing to talk with you. They want to be in the same table with you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hello. Do you think that introducing maybe nuclear energy over here would be a good idea? I know a lot of people oppose it, but I do think maybe there are some benefits. What's your opinion on bringing that here?
And that's a good question. And today morning, Mr. Tom Riekers was mentioning Green Innovation Funds. Maybe this is where I want to, maybe it's just like what you just read my mind. This is one of the area that even my sustainable management students in the bachelor's and master's program ask this. And sometimes this comes up actually in their discussion board as well. The prospects of nuclear energy, and sometimes there's misinformation, miscommunication. People think it is bad, but technology has improved. And there's a group of innovators here. They know things have changed compared to that Chernobyl disaster, right? So question is how to manage the waste, nuclear waste, and the technology of if it is improving. And if it is cost effective, then who knows, just like, unlike the City of Superior, where they declined $1 billion natural gas-based plant, maybe if they're convinced the technology is sound and we can manage the nuclear waste, why not?
All right. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our first session of research talks for the symposium. So at this time, we're going to be moving into our break. That